everybody, guess who's back? Jeff Carlson, Coffee with Carlson. I'm going to do a short video real quick. So this year we've had a lot of questions about the one big beautiful bill and how are these changes really going to affect my taxes, and am I going to get $15 million back on my refund? I believe what you see on TikTok and Instagram, you probably think that right now, but it's really not true. So I'm going to cover three of the biggest topics that have been brought up to our office in the last month or so since we started filing tax return. Let's start with one of the most common ones for people in our client list, and probably a lot of the other accountants around town, or just people that might be tuning in right now. And that's the additional standard deduction for those that are 65 and older. Part of the one big beautiful bill, the change that occurs in 2025, you get, this is actually pretty big, $6,000 additional standard deduction per person. So if you're a married couple, that's $12,000. The average person, that's anywhere from $1,200 to $2,000 based on a 10-15% tax bracket. That's not too bad. I think people have seen a big difference there and they're really excited about it, and let's put the money back in people's pockets. The next two really don't come up a lot in our client list, but they have come up in the tax returns that I've worked on in the last few weeks. And one of them we really need to probably be careful about, because the reporting is kind of inconsistent since this all went into effect last year. And this is the no tax on overtime. So if you're in a job like the service industry, you can now exclude up to $12,500 per person, $25,000 for married filing jointly. It starts to phase out once you get in really big income limits, $150 and $300. But let's just focus on how it works right now. The overtime calculation is not all that you are paid. So typical overtime is time and a half. Say you get $10 an hour, time and a half, $15 an hour. You don't get to deduct the entire $15. You only get to deduct the half time in that time and a half. So what we do is just divide overtime by 3. That gets you down to that number. Now, if you're doing your tax return yourself, or whether you're using a tax preparer like us, something important you need to do this year is look on your W-2 and see if the qualified overtime is listed. We have seen that most of them it's not. The process will probably change for 2026 reporting, but for 2025, a lot of the W-2s did not have that information on them. So it's very important that if you bring your return information to us, or if you do it yourself, pull your last pay stub for 2025, and that will definitely list the overtime on it. If you're doing it yourself, the number is 1/3 of the total overtime. And if you're doing it with a tax professional like Carlson Accounting, all you have to do is hand it off the final pay stub with your W-2, and we'll be able to run those calculations for you and get the numbers out for you. All right, the last one is no tax on tips. No tax on tips is really for the service industry, so people that work in restaurant and bars for the most part. If you get tips, that number is already reported on your W-2, so you don't need to take any extra steps. Just give that to your tax preparer or enter the numbers straight from the W-2 boxes in your tax software if you do it yourself, and it should calculate the limitation for you. And that number is between $12,000 and $25,000 excluded from your income. Remember, excluded from income, it doesn't mean that it's a credit or a one-for-one, but it can mean big numbers. If you're in a 10% tax bracket and you had $12,000 in tips, you could potentially get an extra $1,200 or more back. So make sure you enter those numbers in the right boxes and review the tax return with your preparer to make sure that it's there, or at least ask. All right, everybody, those are the 3 big things that we've seen so far this tax season for you to keep an eye on, for you to talk to your tax preparer about, or for you to watch out for if you're doing your tax return yourself. Tips, overtime, additional standard deduction for those over 65. Please like and share our videos. Make sure to subscribe to the Coffee with Carlson YouTube page, and we'll keep the content flowing with you every week to give you tips and tricks and things that are coming up in the accounting and tax world. Thank you very much, and have a great day.